Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy RJ. This is episode 1 of We Game Podcast. I'm going to try to do it around this time every Saturday, every week. So that means between 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. is when I'll be starting the show, Eastern Standard Time, the best time. And I hope you guys enjoy. So we ain't gonna waste any of y'all time. Let's go ahead and get into the first topic. So we got to speak on that Elden Ring. As you can see, I got the Elden Ring trailer up, the DLC Shadow of the Erdtree trailer up. And from what I've been seeing, the DLC has been received very well. Matter of fact, the Metacritic score, I want to say, is 75, which is, I'm not sure, but I want to say it's the highest rated game ever, or if not, in like for sure the past 10 years. And this is a DLC. This is not even the full game. But obviously FromSoft has been learning a lot over their Souls arc. They've been learning a lot, and it looks like with this DLC that they have took everything that they've learned and they ran with it. Yep, they got a 95 overall score. It's very few people that you will see across the entire internet that will say anything negative about this DLC, which I'm glad to hear that. I'm very glad to hear that. Not only is it a true testament of how amazing FromSoft is, but also it just goes to show that the Dark Souls or the Souls genre is starting to, it's really starting to go mainstream. It's a lot of different games that I've noticed that are not Souls games that have been picking up on a lot of the different formulas that FromSoft created, essentially. I have not got a chance to play Shadow of the Erdtree because my ass cannot get past Moog. Every time he enters his second phase, this man does what seems like to me, because this is how I approach Dark Souls games. I try to beat it with no guides. So I do my own playthrough. I learn on my own. I don't go and watch a million YouTube guides. But with this boss Moog, which is the last boss that you have to beat, he is one out of the 2 bosses that you have to beat in order to get into the Shadow of the Erdtree, because you have to beat bosses to enter the DLC, which is already unique in of itself. So like, to me, FromSoft just does so many different unique things. But I'm actually excited to see. I think I got like almost 50 hours into the base game. Like I said, I'm stuck on Moog. I'm doing a little bit more grinding. I got a bleed build, so I'm ready for that guy. But it seems like every time I get him to his second phase, the intro to his second phase is just ridiculous. He just kills you with blood loss. That's how he kills you. He kills you with blood loss. He bleeds you to death. So I might have to go ahead and look up a YouTube video on that, just because, yeah, your boy is tough. Moog is one tough boss. Honestly, I think I want to say he's one of the toughest, like top 5 toughest bosses I've ever went up against, period. Like, this dude is a demon. Hold on, it looks like okay, I just wanted to make sure the trailer was running properly. I can't tell if it's the trailer or my video playback that's tripping. Let me make sure. Like I said, this is my first episode, y'all, so it will be a little rough, but as time proceeds on forward into the future, things will get better. I've been teetering back and forth on if I want to start a podcast or not. And I watch all these different podcasts. I'm gonna shout out a couple podcasts. I watch Weapon Wheel. I watch What's Up PlayStation. I watch Sick. I'm not sure what his actual podcast, No Cap or something like that. No Cap podcast. So I watch a few podcasts, and a lot of these podcasts are PlayStation centric. Oh yeah, I watch Iron Lord. Shout out to the Lords. But a lot of these podcasts are PlayStation centric, and I hear a lot of misinformation floating around in these PlayStation podcasts. So we got to add another podcast to the more biased Microsoft side. If you guys don't know, I am a Microsoft Xbox fan, but I game on PC, so I get best of both worlds. But I will always stand up 10 toes down for that that Xbox. But let me do a real quick sound check just to make sure it sounds good in my ear, but I want to make sure it sounds good on the phone as well. So just give me one quick second. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to turn that up a little bit. We're gonna have to turn that up a little bit. Sorry guys, it's like I said, it's a learning process, but we gonna get this bad boy together. Don't worry about it. Do not worry. Do not fret. All right, let me turn up gain just a tad bit. Let me see how it's sounding now. This is the testing. I'm testing the volume. Testing the volume. Testing the volume. Oh wow. Yep. Okay, I got that muted. Let me go ahead and pull up another Elden Ring vid real fast. No spoilers. Can't have the spoilers on there because I ain't trying to get spoiled. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't trying to get spoiled. We're just gonna have this guy's gameplay up, volume off. I think it's just his review. Nevertheless, let's get back into it. Might have to turn it up just a tad bit more. I wanna hit that sweet spot. I want to hit that sweet spot. I think that should be the sweet spot right there. Okay. All right. If it's still too low, I'll go ahead and make some adjustments after the podcast. If it's low and you're using speakers, go ahead and throw some headphones on. If you have some accessible for the best possible listening experience. But nevertheless, back to Elden Ring. Yeah, man, I haven't got a chance to play it, and I'm pissed about it because Moog is one tough boss. Now, when I looked up the bosses that you needed to beat, I did see, because I haven't beat the game yet, like, I got stuck on a boss. I can't remember who I got stuck on. I got stuck on him last year, matter of fact. I got stuck on him, and I just put the game down. There was a whole bunch of other games dropping. As we know, last year, 2023, was an amazing year for gaming. So I went ahead and put it down, haven't gotten back to it. But now I'm back in the game. And over the last, week, I've put in another 10 hours. Hopefully I can beat Moog this weekend. I think I will have to go ahead and pull up a guide because I cannot. It's his second phase. If for anybody who has beat Moog, you know exactly, or who is stuck on Moog like myself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Dude is a straight demon. Dude is really a straight demon. But going back to the scores, so the Metacritic scores on PC for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree was 93 on PC, 95 on Xbox, 95 on PS5, and it does not look like the DLC was available on last gen, which is a curious decision. I'm curious about the decision that they made. Maybe it was not, FromSoft wasn't able to optimize it or didn't want to waste their time optimizing it. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't Elden Ring on PS4? Let's look Elden Ring up on PS. Let's see if it's on PS4 real fast. I believe Elden Ring is on PS4. Oh shoot. Yeah, I believe Elden Ring is on PS4. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. And Xbox One, if I'm not mistaken. So it's I'm like, yes. Oh no, it's not. So it's a next gen game. That's an interesting stance that FromSoft took, because we all know PlayStation got millions of PS4s still out there that are still active. Xbox has millions of Xbox Ones that are out there and still active. So it's a very bold statement to drop a video game right now and exclude last generation consoles. It's a very bold thing to do. It's very, very bold. So yeah, I'm hey, I gotta give props to FromSoft on this DLC. I'm very excited to get into it myself. Let me know what you guys think about the DLC. Have you played it? Have you even played Elden Ring? Let me know in the chat, aka the comment section. And so we are going to move on. This podcast is not going to be too long. It's a lot of different things I got to iron out. But we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of today's podcast. And so IGN and GamesIndustry.biz did a interview with Sean Layden, Michael Patcher, and Van Berkem. And so I want to say Sean Layden, I believe, what is he? He's a rep or some type of executive for Sony, if I'm not mistaken. I know he has some correlation with Sony. I'm not really good with names, but I know he has some correlation with Sony. I want to say Michael is I'm not sure who the lady and this guy are, but from what I hear, they have a pretty good interview with IGN. So let's go ahead and get into the conversation that they're having today. Let's start it.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. My name's Chris. I run a website called GamesIndustry.biz. We're actually part of the IGN family, and I'm pretty thrilled to be here. Today, we're going to talk about platforms, whether that's physical platforms or digital platforms, that might end up defining the future of video games. Will consoles go away? Will everything be mobile? Is future all of us playing Fortnite games in the VR headset? I hope not. But to share their expert insight, I've got this wonderful panel today. Now, to begin with, I thought it might be good if you could introduce yourselves. But as you do, I want to know what you think is the greatest games platform of all time. Michael, do you want to go first?
Sure. Michael Pachter. I'm a stock market analyst. I have no idea why I'm up here. I know nothing about anything. The greatest platform of all time, Dreamcast. Like mind-blowing when that thing came out.
Totally stole
Oh, okay, then wait, she said I stole hers. Game Boy. So.
Yeah, Game Boy was a banger.
I was saying you just totally stole my thunder. Hi, my name is Van Burnham. I'm the author and founder of Supercade. I'm currently launching a new interactive museum in Los Angeles. And I agree with Michael that the greatest platform is the Dreamcast for so many reasons.
All right. Well, I'm Sean Layden. In a former life, I was the chairman of Worldwide Studios at PlayStation. Okay. And for me, the answer is not the Dreamcast. It's any even-numbered PlayStation platform.
Okay.
PS10.
There you go.
Oh, shade on PS5. Video game console sales. Video game console sales. Let's talk about consoles. We're talking about consoles. They haven't really increased sales of games consoles for some time. PC gaming is becoming more accessible. Mobile gaming is becoming more advanced. We saw some Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's now on iPhone. Are video game consoles in trouble? Go on, Sean.
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, it is in trouble, but it's not a new thing. I mean, if you look at the history of consoles from PS1 to PS5 and everything associated in those verticals, the global install base in any one of those, we call them generations, right? The global install base never got over about 250 million, no matter how you racked it up. There's at one point in time when the Wii came out, and thanks to Wii Fit, an extra like 20 million units got sold because everyone thought they could lose weight. But that wasn't sustainable, and that came crashing down. And we're still kind of in that 250 million overall install base of active consoles. And I think that's a challenge. We managed to do a lot over time. And during the pandemic, you talk about the revenues going up 20, 25%, but it was still just getting more money from the same people. It wasn't necessarily bringing new people into the console gaming world. So I think that's the existential threat to gaming right now, is how do you break out of that glass ceiling?
Yeah, exactly. How do you grow that? And I think the answer to the question is yes and no. When you look to the future of games, and with the first volume of Supercade, I asked a number of game designers, what do you think the future of games is going to look like? And the answer pretty universally was that everyone wants to achieve this sort of holodeck-like immersive experience for games. And honestly, in my mind, I think that a home console-type platform is going to be the ideal way to achieve that type of experience. But that's a long way off, and we're just in the baby steps of that now. So consoles are going to have to evolve to meet that future, and are they going to be able to do that or not? And a lot of that has to do with content. A lot of that has to do with, how we make this business more sustainable. A lot of that has to do with how we're going to foster more creativity and more experimentation. And in the risk-averse world that we're in right now, that, becomes a little more of a challenge. So, I'm interested to see, how publishers and console manufacturers are going to rise to meet that challenge.
I think consoles are here forever.
Wow, that's the first time you've said that.
No, I believe it. I think each
facts. I think
succeeding generation is going to be smaller than the one
time.
before it. And I think as long as it makes business sense for a game publisher or developer to put something on a console, they will. So if they can sell a single player game for $70, they will. But I think consoles are very much like movie theaters back in the 1940s. We were kind of on the verge of television coming. And what happened with TV is we didn't watch movies on TV. We watched TV shows, soap operas. And then the genre kind of evolved over the next 100 years or 80 years to where we are getting movies on television. The ability to deliver movies via streaming begat all sorts of YouTube and TikTok and whatever else. Games are going that way. We're already there with games and mobile. So ultimately, I think that a developer can choose his audience, his or her audience, based upon what device they're going to access the game, and the best experience will be on a console. And there will be a small subset, a couple of 100 million, who watch it that way. And there'll be a large subset, 3 billion, who consume games a different way. And that's great. That just means more choice. What I think is really interesting, though, is the convergence of the technology where small screens get really powerful. And I'm curious because Microsoft didn't put any specs out today, but they announced 3 new consoles, 3 new Xboxes. And one is a digital only, I think 1 or 2 terabyte hard drive. Clearly, that's the Game Pass device. So
Facts.
What are they trying to do? They're trying to get a PlayStation owner to buy their first Xbox and sign up for Game Pass. Smart. So again, business models will evolve, but I think you're always going to have a chance to watch a movie in the theater. You're going to always have a chance to play a game on a console.
I think that's a great thing that Microsoft is doing with this push of games. For one, we all seen the Xbox showcase back during Summer Games Fest, Microsoft Direct, and everything like that. So we seen the lineup that's coming in the next 2 years, year and a half from Microsoft. Not only that, most of those games are going to Game Pass. Now, Michael just said something very key. He said that Microsoft wants to transfer a lot of those PlayStation owners into Xbox owners as well. And I think that lineup in Game Pass is going to make a dent. I do. I think it's going to make a dent. I think there will be an increase in Xbox sales. Do we know how big that increase is going to be? That has yet to be seen. But I do think this lineup will play a major part. Because right now there's a certain narrative out there that, Microsoft doesn't have games or didn't have games. Microsoft is behind PlayStation, which is true when it comes to sales. But when it comes to business strategy, Xbox is doing things that are, game changing. They are. They're doing things that PlayStation and Sony is scared to do. It's clear and obvious. They're putting all their games in a subscription-based business model, and as long as you're paying your subscription, you have access to all the new games. You no longer have to drop $70 to get access to a new game. I think that's amazing. I do see a lot of people saying, well, what about ownership of games? Well, I don't know about y'all, but I know when I go out the GameStop and I buy a game for my PlayStation, because that's the only console I have, even though I am a Microsoft and Xbox fan. When I go out and buy games, I still have to download 50-something gigs in information. So you know what that means? That means that disc is allowing my PlayStation to get access to the games, which means that at any point, regardless if I have the disc or not, that game can be taken away from me. I'm sure somewhere in those files, there is a file that is connected to whatever game studio or publisher, and all they have to do is hit a button on their computer, and none of those discs are useful. So I think it's the same thing. So when people talk about game ownership and game preservation, well, most games today, if the publisher or the studio decides to cut support, that means that the games no longer work, and that's an issue. But being on a subscription and playing games through a subscription does not contribute to the lack of ownership. This is a business thing. This has nothing to do with subscription or Game Pass. This is how these companies are starting to move. They're giving you licenses, but they're only licenses to play. They are not ownership of the copy. So let's continue.
Dreamcast.
Well, my thing with consoles is there's an interview right now on Games in the Shop Biz with Mark Cerny, and he talks about how games consoles, the role they play is basically making high-end gaming more accessible than having to buy an expensive gaming PC. But for me, I always thought consoles had to be more than that. I always felt that they were built for the living room as much for the bedroom, right? They were about Guitar Hero and SingStar and Kinect, and Switch still does that in a way. You've still got Ring Fit Adventure and Switch Sports, and I've got this isn't really a question. This is my feeling. I look at PlayStation, but I particularly look at Xbox and PlayStation, and I feel if they want to grow and find new audiences in the console space, I feel they need to separate themselves from mobile. They need to be different from PCs. They need a bit of innovation in terms of what they do, not just how they play out and they feel. That's my view on it. And Van, you talked about innovation really in terms of the vision for games.
Absolutely. And I think, when you mention mobile, and I think it's fantastic that some of these AAA games are starting to take a more hybrid approach where, people can take their game, with them, but nothing is going to replace the experience of having an 85-inch, 8K OLED, and having an experience that's crafted to that, which is like a really deep narrative where, you can get into, your Resident Evil 4s and, your Naughty Dog, Last of Us, like these type of really story-driven narrative experiences that make the most of that type of gameplay experience. I think that that's what needs to really be focused on in order to differentiate from the PC gaming, which is just a totally different experience.
Yeah.
The PC gaming experience, which I see what she's talking about, yes. When you are PC gaming, it's a little bit more close and personal. You're usually sitting at a desk or a table, and you're sitting in front of your PC with your monitor right here, or you might be, like I also do, I use my TV as a second screen, and for my monitor, for my PC. And so, but I think as time continues to move forward, the PC experience, if you are on Steam or some of these other launchers on PC, they have interfaces that are very similar to the interfaces on console. So they're trying to make a push to make PC gaming a little bit more accessible in the way that you don't have to be so close and personal to your PC to enjoy PC gaming. When she spoke about mobile gaming, the person who predominantly plays on mobile games and the person who predominantly plays console and or PC are two different types of people. They're not people that play mobile games are not looking for a real deep story, a real deep and immersive gameplay experience. They're trying to play something while they're waiting in line at Walmart, they're waiting at the doctor's office, they're on break, or they're at work. They ain't got nothing to do. Crack on the whatever it is, Monopoly Go, and play a game real quick. Because if you play a lot of these mobile games, a lot of them play themselves. Give me 1 second.
How do you see, Sean, how do you see consoles in 10 years?
I think that, I think Van puts forward a future which I agree with, except for the fact that those games are going to cost $400 million to make. And they're going to take 7 years to get done. So that is the kind of cash burn and excessive time needed to get to product, which is really going to be an albatross on the console experience if we can't get more variety of content out there. And because games are $200, $300, $400 million to make,
Facts.
you don't get a lot of risk taking.
Facts.
It's one thing to throw $10 million out there and say, hey, make a SingStar, see what happens. Who doesn't throw $10 million out there and do that? But if you have to say, create an entirely new narrative experience about things we've never seen before and characters we've never touched before, and you want $350 million to do that, there aren't a lot of chief financial officers in big companies who are going to write you that check. Can't you do Gears of War 7 instead? Because we know what that means. So we've got to find a way to get that entry point, to lower that entry point into getting really high-end content into the community, into the business, at a lower cost point in order to bring more variety. Nothing was more variable than the PS2 era. Oh my God, from Katamari Damacy to SingStar to iToy, and you name it.
Manhunt.
At those development costs, you could do a lot more bets against that. Now we're seeing, sadly, most of the games, the big ones that are coming out, fall into well-known genre and categories that we've all seen before, with the exception of maybe something like Hi-Fi Rush, which came out last year, which was fresh and new. All the stuff we're seeing right now is pretty much extensions of where we've already been. And I'll make it quick. That's not how you get new people into console gaming. The people who aren't console players right now have already told us we're not interested in Fortnite, God of War, you name it, the stuff that we all do.
That's true.
So by continuing to make more of the stuff we've made before, you won't get those people in now. Say, oh, well, now I want to play Call of Duty. No, they've already decided not to. So our lack of variety in the offering of content, I think, is one of our biggest risks going forward.
Well, it's very hard to be diverse when you're spending so much money on these freaking games. See, this is why I love being on PC. Because PC, you get best of all three of the worlds. You get access to Xbox games day and date. You get access to a whole library and plethora of games that are not on either of the consoles. And then you get access to PlayStation games at a later date after release. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And from what we all have read recently, it looks like the live service games, which are the games that are going to be played or supposed to be played potentially for thousands of hours, looks like those games are coming day and date to PC. So with that being said, going back to spending $250 million on a video game as a budget, PC has a plethora of games that are not on either of the consoles that have a fraction of that cost and budgeting money. But these games are played every day. Look at League of Legends. Look at it's so many damn games. I could just go and name off hella games that are on PC, on Steam, that cost a fraction of the price. Ready or not. Like, there are many games with different types of experiences and different genres. These games do not have to cost this much. But there's an issue with these publishers where they think the more money we pump in, the more money we get out. And then that's not the case. And when they learn and they finally do decide, hey, let's make a new IP, let's make it a turn-based game, and then let's put $300 million into it, and they realize it's not that many interested in that genre, and then they don't get their money back, they're looking around scratching their head. Because for one, when you're investing that much money, you're going to take the safe bet. You're going to take the safe bet. The issue is there's not a lot of publishers that are allocating 50 million to a new IP, allocating 20 million to a new IP. And then also, it seems like a lot of these publishers have lost touch. It seems like they have lost touch. They're dropping a lot of these weird, random, half-baked games that nobody's asking for. They're doing the most. They have made every single game an open world game. Every single game. That's not necessary. Now, if you do an open world game in a good way, like Elden Ring, people will love it. People will play it for hundreds and thousands of hours. But when you make a Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I like, but I know that the overarching opinion on that game is that it's not a good game, even though I enjoy it, then you don't get that money in return. And now you didn't put all this content into something and it wasn't even worth it in the first place. They need to scale back a little bit. Instead of making one big game that costs $400 million to make, why don't you break that down into 4 games that cost $100 million to make? And then you can be a little bit more risk-takey with your IP. You can innovate a little bit, but you got room. You're giving yourself room, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an important point, and I think that the game industry is falling into the same trap that the film industry has gotten itself into, where the entire middle ground is gone. Like, nobody is making $20 million movies anymore. You either have a $5 million indie film, or you have a $100+ million summer tentpole, and that's where all the experimentation was. And as you look at the history of PlayStation, I mean, PlayStation was a success because it built up this huge library of games, and a lot of that independent games that came in, and a lot of those were financed by publishers, and publishers took a lot of risks on new IP, and that just doesn't happen anymore. And we need to find some way to get back to that a little bit in order to foster the type of creativity to move everything forward.
I agree.
Do you want to go?
Well, my movie analogy was sincere, that the studios 20 years ago made over 200 films a year, the major US studios, and they're now making right around 100, and that's going to drop to 80. Yeah. They just won't make the bets, so they don't make $50 million romantic comedies. But there was this Glenn Powell movie and Sydney Sweeney that blew it out of the water, killed it, and now they're like, maybe we should rethink that. So no, you stop innovating, and the innovation happens at the low end. So you'll get Pal World, you'll get like fun, cool games that seem different, but they'll be mobile first. And honestly, think about the YouTube stars that are actually recording artists now. And I mean, that's Justin Bieber is one of those. They exist. And think of the stars who started on television, American Idol, Carrie Underwood. They exist. So I actually think there's no shortage of innovation. And I think the mobile platform allows people to start to show that they're good. And they will graduate up, and you're going to get feature-length film directors who start as, TV commercial producers. Spike Jonze is one. So I just think that I wouldn't worry about creativity, because there's so many people with access to the tools to make really good content that we're going to get good content.
Yeah.
Well, the thing as well is that, I mean, he said some key points, but the thing as well is that it's not a lot of big AAA studios that's investing into these smaller projects. So you got a lot of small studios, and a lot of indie studios are on PC exclusively. One, it's easier to drop a game on Steam than it is on Xbox or PlayStation. And two, to get in contact with a lot of these, with Xbox or PlayStation, you need resources. You need resources, and you have to meet a checklist of requirements. And a lot of games in indie studios are dropped on Steam. They go into early access. That's another thing. I don't even think PlayStation allows for early access, right? But they go into early access on Steam. They get a little bit of crowdfunding, and then they're able to continue to develop. Now, imagine if you had more companies like Ubisoft, more companies like Tencent, I know Microsoft does have a division where they invest into indie studios, but even PlayStation allowing early access games on their platform. There wouldn't be a content shortage. See, the content shortage is only experienced by the console players exclusively. If you own a PlayStation or you own a Xbox and that's all you own, there's a content shortage for you because you have cut yourself out of the deal. There's a lot of different games that you will not have access on other platforms. I noticed it when I switched over to PC. When I switched over to PC, it was amazing when I seen how many games there were that I never heard of, that I never got a chance to play, right? And so it's a lot of barriers that comes with dropping games on consoles. A lot of studios that don't have the money, they don't have the money to put up with it. They don't have the money to get through it. So if there was a harder push into, I know EA is one of the AAA publishers that actually make a pretty big, do a pretty good job of inviting indie studios into their, I forget what they call it, but into their division, and then they fund it. And from what I heard, they're pretty hands off as well. So that's an amazing thing. But there's not enough of that. It's not enough of that in the industry right now. And it's causing there to seem like, because games take so long to develop, it's causing it to seem like there's a content shortage. When really, it's probably the same amount of games being made as there was previous generation. It's just it's taking double the time to make them. So we get instead of getting 2 games from one studio in 4 years, we're getting 1 game from one studio in 8 years. Let's continue.
I don't entirely disagree with that, but then would you say that about Rare? Should Rare have started mobile first and then, built their way up to make a console game? Or
I would not.
Should somebody have taken a bet that, this is going to be an amazing studio that's going to create some of the most impactful games in history?
I don't think that James Cameron should be making TV commercials, and I don't think Simon Cowell.
He makes more money making TV commercials.
But I don't think Simon Cowell should be making feature-length films. They have their skill set. They're in their lane. They both know what they're doing, and they're really, really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that there are kids that aren't yet born who are going to learn to create on TikTok or with a free Unity engine. Yeah. We're going to make the greatest game of all time 25 years from now.
On PC.
I believe that. I just think give the tools to more people because creativity knows no bounds. I'm really confident in humankind, but with emphasis on kind. If we could just be kind to one another, we have a chance of surviving.
We've got some
Quite the humanist today, Michael.
We've got some Pacta fans in the audience by the sounds of it.
I'm a liberal. I can't help it.
Let's talk streaming. Right. So people are starting to do it more, but the numbers very low. The dream is so people can play their games on any device without the need for expensive hardware, and that's been the pitch for over a decade now. Is it ever going to get there?
No.
And then we're done.
Well, never's a long time, right? Not in my lifetime, anyway. I still think one of the things that mitigates against the widespread proliferation of streaming gaming platforms is the crap internet that we still have. Oh, I got some applause on that one.
Japan can do 317 terabytes a second.
Right. So if you live in Tokyo, Seoul, or Stockholm, you can have a streaming game life right now. If you live in Stockton, Muncie, Indiana, or actually London, England, you can't have a streaming experience.
The answer is no.
So I mean, that's why even at the national government level, we have rural broadband initiatives. It's a government initiative to try to get more broadband out there. So the spread of streaming gaming is also delimited by the ability to have the infrastructure that was to provide that. That's the one thing. The second thing about it is, when you talk about cloud gaming, there's 2 aspects of that. One is cloud as delivery device, streaming gaming via the cloud going out. The other one is cloud gaming, where you are able to leverage the power of server-side CPU and GPU, leverage into server-side compute, which will give you more power than your console ever could at a price point you could afford. Mm-hmm. Then it becomes kind of interesting. If we make the server side do more of the heavy lifting and provide something that current console technology or even next gen can't do, from cost and maintenance, all that kind of stuff, then maybe you get some more interesting ideas around that. But as far as the Netflix of gaming, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Sean Layden's being a little bit pessimistic. What I mean by that is, just recently, matter of fact, I never played a Persona game. I've been hearing so many people praising and don't mind if you hear that music. I live in the hood, so guys love to play music loud as hell. But nevertheless, back to what I was saying. I decided, I've been hearing all these praises about Persona. Let me check out Persona 3 on Game Pass. Shout out to Game Pass. I didn't want to download it because I didn't really feel like waiting because I never played the game. There's no expectation, so I don't want to wait. I want to see if I like it. So I decided to stream the game. And I didn't stream on my PC. My PC's not on Ethernet right now. So when I streamed it, it was not on a wired connection. But I had a good experience. I had a very good experience. Now, did I notice buffering? Did I notice the the fuzziness every now and again from the internet connection being unstable or whatever on Wi-Fi? Yes, I did. Did it pull me out of the game to the point where I wanted to turn the game off? No, it didn't. For one, it's a turn-based game, so it's not a lot of quick reaction type of stuff that I have to do. But also, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. I actually had a very decent experience. Did I decide to download Persona 3 Reloaded after I finished streaming it? Hell no. That game is straight ass. It's a 2-pack of ass. And anybody that's got a problem with it, yeah, you can see me. You know where I'm at. But the game is trash. I don't know what people see in Persona. Don't get me wrong. It has a halfway decent story. But if you're not into the high school, you go role playing, going to class and all that, trying to be the popular kid, I was the popular kid in real life. Yeah, I got the baddies. I'm not trying to play. No. Hey, if you like the game, shout out to you. But that, to me, that was a 2-pack. Matter of fact, we taking it to 3. That was a 3-pack of straight donkey meat. You feel me? Let's continue.
Successfully.
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with that. As a historian, you just have to look back. The last 15 years have been littered with some of the most spectacular failures in games, whether you're talking about, on live and sadly Stadia. And I think just the technology is just too far away to make that a really viable platform. But that said, I'm very excited to see what Netflix could possibly do, with the right direction. So we'll see.
I take the opposite view. I think streaming is going to absolutely dominate.
Facts, it will.
I don't think it will replace console gaming.
No, it
I
won't.
think we will continue to buy consoles or some very powerful device to play multiplayer because latency matters. Single player
facts.
games, single player RPG, no. You can absolutely stream that. And who
Right.
cares how fast your internet connection is? So it buffers. So it stalls. It's you. You don't care. You didn't die.
It's crazy he just said that because that's exactly what I did. I streamed Persona, which is an RPG. I did not care about the buffering, and it wasn't a lot of buffering. It wasn't the type of buffering like a video playback where it stops. It was just like the buffering where the screen would get real fuzzy every now and again. I didn't care. I literally did not care. It did not pull me away from the game at all. So he's making a great point when it comes to single player games. Yes, people who are playing single player games, unless they're playing a Dark Souls or a Souls-like game where it's real time based and you have to pay attention to every frame or whatever, if you're playing anything that doesn't require twitchy reaction, you'll be fine. You will really be fine streaming games today, to be honest.
So I really think that the game experience will be tailored to that. I think that you're not going to see Call of Duty multiplayer on streaming ever, but will you see Call of Duty single player campaign? Trust me, there's a reason why Microsoft fought so hard to buy Activision. They want that game on Game Pass.
Speak
And then
on
gave
it.
all the streaming rights to Ubisoft.
Speak on
They
it.
were required to by some nut jobs in the UK. Those
Speak on it.
UK regulators, yeah. But again,
all them
that just means
PlayStation
they have to
fans.
pay to get those rights back, and they
Look
will.
like
But not to
PlayStation
get too
fans.
into the weeds, I think any streaming service which has content that's of the AAA variety that you and I know and love, and if you're talking about day and date with a physical and a streaming for a subscription price, the economics don't math.
That's what I was going to ask.
Absolutely right. No, Sean, you're right. It makes no sense. And I had a sell rating on Netflix for 10 years because it made no economic sense that they would spend what it took to get where they are. Nobody in the value chain should have fed them content but they all did because they were dumbasses. And Netflix exploited everybody to get where they are, and now I buy on them and I love them. They're absolutely profitable. So what company in the world is worth $2 trillion and has, I don't even know what they have on their balance sheet, $400 billion of cash and can tough out the losses?
Microsoft.
Oh, that might be Microsoft. I don't think Meta.
Real quick, he put out a little misinformation out there. Microsoft is not a $2 trillion company. It is a $3 trillion, my brother. Get the facts straight. Stop shortchanging Microsoft. I just had to correct that. Let's continue.
Has a chance. I don't think Netflix has a chance, but Microsoft, either Phil Spencer is going to die penniless on a bread line because he flopped, or he's going to die a billionaire.
I don't think
we're going to
that's
find out. I'll take billionaire.
I'll take that wager right now.
He's here, so if you guys want to give him a piece of bread, I'd appreciate it.
My question about that, Michael, is the business models, I think, is a problem because streaming, we watch lots of TV shows, right? So we're subscribing to a variety of TV shows makes sense. I'm not talking about anybody here, but most gamers on average play, 1 or 2 new games a year? So the idea of subscribing to a service for that. So if subscription isn't the model and you're trying to get streaming to work, are people going to pay $70 to stream whatever game that is, God of War, and that's because to my concern, there's the technical problem which we talked about, and then I'm still not convinced by the business model.
Access entitlement is not ownership, right? If you're paying for the privilege of accessing this content, that can be turned off at any time. You don't really own it, do you?
Yeah.
Sean Layden took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. So that's why I don't think it works.
So do you want an answer?
Well, it was.
That was my answer.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, of course I do. So the answer is, if Microsoft were to say, let's take Facebook and Apple and Google out of the equation, our platform fees are 0. Put your free-to-play game on Xbox Game Pass. 0 platform fees. You keep 100%. Do you know how many mobile games would be there tomorrow? All of them. All of them. So then you suddenly have 3.5 billion people who play mobile games who could stream by joining Game Pass. Will they pay $15 for that? Probably not. But if you're a Game Pass subscriber, how about World of Warcraft? If you're a World of Warcraft subscriber, it's free. When you say we play 1 or 2 games, how many of you guys play mobile games? Anybody in the audience play mobile games? Anybody play more than 1? Oh, there you go.
Play 1.
No, we all play like 10 games. It's just that they're not on the console. So I actually think you add 250 million Candy Crush players, because that's how many there are, and Microsoft owns that one. It instantly
million?
exposes those people. And again, what about an ad-supported Game Pass? You have to watch an ad before every time you log on. Wow, knock the price down to $5.99 or $6.99. How many more people will join? I think there's a model out there. Microsoft is not stupid, and they actually read what I write.
They are, sir.
Oh, he just dropped some jewels on people. See, a lot of people are because a lot of people are not business savvy, so I can't blame ignorant niggas. I can't blame them. They don't know shit. But there are so many different faces to subscription service-based models. You don't always have to have a pay once a month set in stone price. We see with Game Pass, there are many ways to get Game Pass cheap. I pay a month. It really costs $15. I think $15.99. I pay like $5 a month for Game Pass. $5 a month for Game Pass. Because there are so many different ways. If you're on PC, you can go to these key shops and buy keys off the key shop, right? If you buy some type of random piece of technology that Xbox is associated with, you might get a 3-month key free Game Pass for 3 months. He also spoke about something that I've never heard nobody say. He said you can have a service base where it's cheaper. You pay maybe $5 a month, but now you have to watch ads, or there have to be ads when you pull the app up. There are ads everywhere. It makes sense, but it makes it cheaper. There are so many ways to make Game Pass work. It's actually crazy. It's actually crazy.
They're certainly giving it a go, so we'll find out. One of the other big developments in games, a platform you can play games on today is like Roblox and Fortnite, right? So these games are effectively like consoles. You know, you've got kids and amateurs making games on these in their bedroom. You've also got professional game developers. Lego and Disney are making games for these platforms. I think there's a Sonic game on Roblox. Fortnite has 100 million monthly users, so you're looking at a bigger install base than many of the consoles. Where do you see that going? Who wants to go with that first?
Where do I see that going? What is that?
The idea that these metaverse games is where people will play games in the future.
Yeah, I think that's, you're talking about sandboxes, right? So you can go to my Roblox sandbox, build my thing, and over in Fortnite, build my thing, and Minecraft has that, aspect of that as well. I think that's a great category of gaming. I think that continues to go on, and the output becomes more sophisticated, and it's not like you have to squint to really see if that's a character, because the resolution will get better and the models will get better and it'll be more interesting. I think it's a good UGC way to create content that fits into the pipe. But again, I don't think it obviates or it sublimates, big epic single player narrative gaming.
It's not for the casual. Sandbox games, which they spoke about too. You got Fortnite, you got Roblox, you got Minecraft, you got GTA 5, which has become a platform in itself. Nobody's seen that coming. But those will become more popular because GTA put it on the mainstream level where you got the niggas, right? You took the niggas, right, and you gave them a way to where they can role play, right? I've tried to get into it. I can't log on to GTA and act like I'm a firefighter. It just doesn't work for me. Or you know what I mean, an ER, EMS. I just can't do it. But it's very popular though, and it makes a lot of money. It will become more popular, but people who work a 9 to 5 that maybe do labor or whatever, that has kids, they're not trying to figure out what's the best mod to install in Elden Ring. They're not. They want to come home. They want to get a tailored experience that's polished, that's ready to play, and that's it, right? So it will get more popular. It will continue to grow, but it becoming like the norm, I don't think that's a trend that will eventually become the norm. I could be wrong, but it's not enough diversity within that, right? You got a lot of like open world style games, regardless of the fact that kind of did that in the first place. And then you also have to remember you have to continue to have a thriving player base when you do these type of things. So I don't know if it will get to that point, but I could be wrong. Shoot, GTA 6 is coming out. That GTA 6 could change gaming history for all we know. Let's continue.
It's just another part of the food chain.
Yeah, I mean, those games exist in their own reality. And I think one of the issues...
And not dismissing it. I mean, it's just a different thing.
What part of the problem is that so many publishers look at the success of those platforms like, oh, well, we need to do that. It's like that... It's an accident, it's engineered to a certain extent, but it's like you can't like just click a radio button and say, I want this ad to go viral. It's like you can't make that choice. So it's like, will there be more content that is able to achieve that level of success and find that audience? Maybe, but that's not something that you can design. It's something that, has to resonate with an audience, and it's like lightning in a bottle. So I think we can't like treat it like that's a viable business model to replicate that. And I think a lot of publishers have gotten into trouble trying to chase that when it's not something that you can just attain by throwing money at it. It's something that has to happen organically. So will there be other games like that? Absolutely, but I don't think that's something that can exist just as a category. It's like you can't engineer success like that.
Yeah, I'm sort of talking specifically though, people like Lego who have made a game in Fortnite, right? And Disney who are building a theme park effectively in Fortnite, and Harmonix's latest music game is in Fortnite. And sorry, Michael, go on.
So there are two platforms that are doing the same thing. One is Roblox and one is Fortnite. Roblox is way ahead because of the business model, which 100% is an accident. They didn't expect this to happen. The reason they don't have more third-party games on there is they keep 70%. Everybody else gives the developer or publisher 70%. Roblox understands this and knows that they can flip that. I cover them as well. I've had these talks with their CEO, and the CEO goes, well, how can I flip to 30? My revenue will drop. And I go, well, why don't you just have a threshold? Above $10 million, the fee instantly drops to 30, because there's like 5 games that do more than $10 million. And he was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. They'll get there. When they get there, they're just like iOS, they're just like Android, they're just like Xbox, PlayStation, not for AAA Xbox experiences, but for absolutely Helldivers or Palworld, you could do that. So I actually think they're onto something, and I think they're going to figure it out. Fortnite is absolutely doing that, and they're keeping way less than 30% to encourage all those other guys to be there. Those two guys are going to slug it out. I don't think either one's going to win. I think they're both going to win. And I think that the consumer wins because we're going to get more choice.
Yeah, they're 2 different games.
And Fortnite was an accident as well.
Right.
Right. I remember when it was a $70 game.
Yeah,
Brief New York minute. Yeah.
All of them were by accident. I don't think Epic. I don't even know who makes Roblox, and I don't think Rockstar seen the trajectory that these games were going to take. They took off. And that's an understatement. Fortnite is still moving and grooving to this day. I've tried Roblox when they did that, when someone made like a Call of Duty clone. I tried it. I didn't stick around. But I couldn't believe that kids play this. All these great games out here and y'all playing with Roblox. Couldn't believe it, but it's moving and grooving. GTA, I already told you, I tried the role play servers, which are only on PC to my knowledge. I couldn't understand why somebody would log into GTA 5 and be a garbage man. But it's moving and grooving. None of these companies seen that coming. But now that they've seen it, I can understand why they want it. But like Vaughn was saying, it's like lightning in a bottle. You can stand outside all day during a thunderstorm. The likelihood that you're going to be able to capture that lightning in that bottle is very low. You're going to get your ass fried. You keep playing with that lightning. Let's continue.
I'm conscious that we only got 5 minutes left. And there's a big question that we've got right on here is that where will you be playing games in the future? And I worried if I start talking about mobile, which is going to be my next question, that we wouldn't get to that question. So I'm going to ask this question now. Where do you think we will be playing video games in the future? Where's that? What's the future of playing games?
I think that's impossible to predict, but one thing I think is likely true is in the current environment where costs of productions are getting great, there's disparity between platforms, it takes more to get into gaming, which is a problem we should solve for. It does feel like we're at a VHS Betamax moment. Mm-hmm. You know, one team is more like VHS and one team is more like Betamax. I mean, Nintendo is in its own lane, in its own part of the planet, and they do great things, and sometimes there's multi-plat, sometimes there's not. But I think we're at a point now also, if you look at what the Xbox architecture and the PlayStation architecture looks like, you rip open the box, it's both built by AMD.
Right.
So there was a time, 360 versus PS3, that architecture was so different, it makes your hair go white, think about trying to do multi-platform against those. But now it's pretty much, as we say, only dogs can hear the difference between these two pieces of technology. You know, we're talking about ray tracing differentials. And most of us don't really have TVs, and we have TVs with sunlight hitting across the front of it anyway, so you can't see the ray tracing anyway. So Xbox, PlayStation, and high-end PC, that's almost at a plateau where all things being equal, they're pretty much the same. And I think we'll be in a better world if we can get down to one standard home console technology that we can all come together and get this platform war thing out of the way.
Van?
No, I agree. And I think that as much as I want to imagine a future where there's more really exciting, high-end, location-based gaming environments, I think that is going to happen. Just like, people will still go to the theater to see a film. I think, people will create some amazing metaverse volume where you can go and interact in a specific type of world, and I would love to see that. But I think that, generally we're going to be playing games at home in the environment that we've created.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most polished way to experience video games is at home, on a couch, on your TV, or sitting at your PC playing on a monitor. It's just the most polished experience. VR is not in a state where it's even competing with actual like 1440p or 4K graphics. But, and this is another pro of being a PC player, there has just been a program made that allows you to play a larger variety of games in VR. One of those games being Insurgency Sandstorm. I don't have a VR headset, and I am literally going to buy one when I get the chance, because I'm about to take a trip to Florida. But when I get the chance, I'm going to buy a VR headset just to play these different games that are not even made for VR. There is nothing that these developers did to make these games available or accessible to VR. But because of this program, which is exclusively on PC, you can play these games. I would love to play Insurgency Sandstorm on VR. Like, that sounds like a banger. I love Insurgency Sandstorm, by the way. Sounds like a banger. So I'm just curious to see and every week, people are updating the games and adding more games that you could play on VR as well. And no, I will not be buying a PlayStation VR 2 because there's so many more better VR headsets. But that's a story for another day. Let's continue.
I'll be playing games on the toilet. Typically at about 2:30 when I get up.
There's an image for you guys to go home with.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's exactly like consumption of video entertainment. 100 years ago, no one could have conceived that we would consume filmed entertainment outside of a movie theater, and now you can consume it right now on your phone. So I just think games are going to keep going that way, and the experience will be dumbed down for your phone and sped up for your 85-inch LG LED, OLED. But everywhere. I think we'll play games everywhere.
Well, I think mobile, one thing we didn't touch on is that mobile, in some markets, they don't have games consoles. It's too expensive. Gaming PCs are too expensive. Mobile is the way to reach gamers in India and Brazil.
And he just said something so key. A lot of times we think about how we play and approach how we play video games from a Western world perspective, when majority of the world is not a part of the Western world. Majority of the world is in third world countries or underdeveloped countries when it comes to the Western world. And so a lot of these countries, we've seen what happened with Helldivers 2 and Sony, bitch ass, wanting to force people to log in and make a Sony account just to play Helldivers 2 when they didn't have to do that originally. And that essentially cut out a lot of people who already bought the game, for one, and then it excluded anybody else from over 100 and something countries who wanted to buy the game at some point when they could get some money together. So a lot of these people, they are forced to play on their phone. And guess what? You got Game Pass, buddy. You can stream anywhere, good fella. Yes, you can. And so as streaming continues to evolve, eventually I think that there will be a large player base of gamers who are playing on their phones, playing on a tablet, playing on an iPad, or even playing on a rinky-dink computer that can't run it natively, but it can stream it though. Let's continue.
And places like that. So there is an element of mobile. This multi-format feature that we're talking about it's needed in order to reach people that don't have PlayStations.
Yeah, and I think we need to really put this in perspective. I mean, this industry is barely 50 years old. I mean, look how far we've come from, just phosphorescent blocks on a TV to the immersive worlds that we're creating. We're going to be able to do things that we can't even imagine, even us up here, that we can't even imagine in the next 50 years.
I also think variety is going to be a thing. It's not just about these are the big platforms, but I love my Analog Pocket. It's a beautiful little machine, and it's really well done. The Playdate, the Steam that we're starting to see these new devices, and they're finding audiences, and I think we'll hopefully continue to see variety. We're going to be ushered off the stage. I think I'm really sorry. I'm disappointed.
Get the hook out.
Time. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Van. Give them please a round of applause.
Thank you all for coming.
It has been an absolute pleasure. If you want to hear more analysis and opinion, do check out gamesindustry.biz. This is what we do. Sign up to.
All right. Yeah, so they made a lot of good points. I think that some of Sean Layton's points are very pessimistic. I don't know if that's disdain from what happened with Sony. You know, I'm not sure how that whole situation transpired. If he has a little bit of bad blood, that's what it looked like to me. He had a little bit of bad blood when it deals with Sony. So maybe he does want the industry to burn, crash and burn, because he's not as involved as he was prior. It kind of sounded like that, the old burnt out, hating, mad at the world type of energy. That's what it looked like to me. Michael made a lot of good points, a lot of innovative points, and if experts in these arenas are able to expound on those points that he made, whether they be in the marketing, the subscription, or the streaming, if they're able to expound and develop those ideas, I think we can see some success there, especially on the Microsoft side. But Matt Booty, pause, because his name is very sus. But Matt Booty recently talked about why they shut down Tango Gameworks. And, you know, because they dropped Hi-Fi Rush, was a box office hit when it comes to scores and reviews. But it didn't seem like the fans felt the same way. So Matt Booty go ahead and expounds. And I'm reading this quote from GameSpot. He said that we had to look at all these things. Hold on, let's rewind a little bit. I think I started a little bit too late. Matt Booty went on to say, when Microsoft was plotting out the future of Tango, it considered a number of factors, including the company's creative leadership, if the team is the same team, quote unquote, that previously made something successful. We have to look at all these things and then ask ourselves, are we set up for the future going forward? And while there may have been factors and situations that previously led to success, they may not still be in place as you look at what you're doing moving forward. Also, another specific quote he gave, he said it was one of the hardest decisions and it was not taken lightly. Essentially, Tango was shut down because even though Hi-Fi Rush was a great game and did Xbox and Microsoft well, this came after the report that Hi-Fi Rush did not make the money Microsoft was looking for. So at the end of the day, it came down to money, folks. It was not about emotions. This was not an emotional move. This was based on analytic stats and data. That's what this move was made on. I am upset that Tango was shut down. I never played Hi-Fi Rush, but I heard it was a good game. It just wasn't the type of game I was looking for at the time. I might actually go back and play it pretty soon once I get through some of my backlog. And I got to beat Moog and Elden Ring first. But once I do all that, I might go back and play Hi-Fi Rush just to experience that game. But the people that I've seen talk about the game, that have played the game, they had nothing but great things to say about it. I think the only person that I heard say something bad about it, what they said was they had an issue with it being a music beat combat system. But outside of that, nobody else said nothing bad. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's not about the game, unfortunately. It is about the game, but it's not about the game. It's about the money. I think the highest player count for Hi-Fi Rush on Steam. I'm looking up the player count right now. I want to say off the top of my head, it was only like 1,900 concurrent players when it went to Steam. We're gonna find out real soon. We're gonna find out real soon. We're gonna find out real soon. I'm pulling it up right now. So the all-time peak for the concurrent players of Hi-Fi Rush was 6,100 players. 6,132 players 17 months ago. Mind you, the game was shadow dropped as well. And it had a lot of buzz. but it was only able to pull in 6,132 players at once, unfortunately. Right now, currently, 8:47 p.m., June 22nd, 2024, the player count is at 218 people on Steam. Now, that's not representative of the total player base, we all know, because most people will be playing it in Game Pass. It's on PC Game Pass, it's on Xbox Game Pass. But it does give you an idea of the interest generated in the game. A lot of people just weren't interested in playing the game. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So, at the end of the day, the executive decision, all these dudes out here in these Twitter streets, these YouTube streets, these podcast streets, swear that they are CEOs and understand what it means to play with millions of dollars, to invest millions and maybe even billions of dollars. All these guys out here, these Twitter financial advisors, were so upset. Oh, Hi-Fi Rush had a high Metacritic score. How could Microsoft shut them down? It makes no sense. That's how you know Microsoft sucks. Yeah. Hi-Fi Rush got an 87 on Metacritic, which is a great score. But that does not reflect the money that it made. So, it's unfortunate. I hope those people can continue to work in the industry, because those people that made the game are very talented. We still want that talent in the industry. But next time they make a music-based combat game, tell them to take the music out the game, add a couple Souls elements to it, and you might have a banger on your hands, for real. I swear, that's why I be saying some of these companies are kind of out of touch. No one asks for a music combat game. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I didn't play the game personally. If someone would have told me, yeah, it's Souls-like, it's punishing, it's a good combat system, because the game looks amazing, I would have played it. But as soon as I heard that music type stuff, I'm like, I don't know if that's for me, So it's unfortunate. I hope they could bounce back on their feet. And I hope that, like I said, they continue to work in the industry, because their talent is needed. But let me know what you guys think about some of the topics that we talked about today. If you are interested in watching this podcast every Saturday, starting from 7 to 8 p.m., go ahead and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you are notified when I drop these podcasts. I'm going to mainly be doing podcast videos on this channel. Every now and again, I might do like a playthrough or a let's play, or, you can watch me play a game, But predominantly, it's going to be podcasts that's being uploaded to this channel. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe. Give your boy a thumbs up if you made it this far into the podcast. It's very much appreciated. And I'll catch y'all next week. It's your boy, RJ. Thanks for showing up to episode 1 of We Game Podcast.